Hebrews chapter 12. Discipline from God. 2 weeks ago, Pastor Rick had shared through chapter 11 on this amazing testimony of modern day saints, and their names being Steve and Selena Summers, and what they've gone through, and with the brain tumor. And if you weren't here, you can go online and look at YouTube and you can hear the sermon from 2 weeks ago. But the emphasis was faith. Faith in chapter 11 is the main concept in the book of Hebrews. Now, I've had the privilege to begin teaching through the book of Hebrews since, it's been over a year now. Well, I'm not sure when we started, January, but on Overton on Thursday nights, we've been working through Hebrews. I've always enjoyed the book. I've never taught through it. But we gather together and hear what God has for us from the book of Hebrews. And Hebrews is an interesting book because not only it's amazing, and we don't know who the author is. I mean, I could see Paul writing it, but there's all kinds, it doesn't matter. It was written by whoever it was. That's not the point who writes the book. It's about, once again, as I shared a few weeks ago, it's about the message, not the messenger. And so as you begin to see Hebrews, what it does is it ties together the Old Testament and the New Testament. Because what you don't understand in the culture that we live today, and it's hard to understand, is most of us have never come from, well, some of us maybe have, from a religious setting, especially a Levitical system, that these people that were written to were grounded in. And so Pastor Rick shared last week in the sacrifices and the whole temple system worship and bringing a lamb and sacrificing the Passover. It was all a picture of things to come, a foreshadowing. And so you see right away in Hebrews chapter 1 that he begins to talk about angels. There was a misunderstanding about the role that angels play in creation. And so the writer deals with that, explaining that Jesus is so much far more above, but yet there was a time when he had to come and take on these fleshly bodies. There was also confusion about Moses and putting him on a pedestal, and he was the law, yes he was. But Moses, as we've looked at on Wednesday nights, and if you don't come on Wednesday nights, you're missing out, because if you want an opportunity to kind of have a better understanding of what's being laid out, and we went through one of the most difficult scriptures this past week with this whole misunderstanding of who him is, with the circumcision and Moses' life being threatened by God, you missed out. But the Old Testament, the Levitical system, this writer wanted to clarify and explain in a real practical way that Jesus is so much better than that old Levitical system. He explains also that, through Levi, these were manly people, fleshly people. They could never do anything eternal. That here comes this man Melchizedek, and it has to be explained from the Old Testament, that was worship. And now here, Jesus is through the line of Melchizedek, because he is eternal. Melchizedek, there's no beginning, there's no end, there's no record of his parents. He was eternal. Once again, Jesus Christ is eternal. You see, Moses could only take the people so far. In fact, he couldn't even take them into the promised land. The Levitical system had to be put to the side for what we call now the New Covenant. Because when the veil was torn from top to bottom, each one of us, as we see in chapter 10, can come boldly to the throne because of what Christ has done. And he's made it a clear way to come into his presence through what he has done on the cross, fulfilling everything we see in the Old Testament. And so Hebrews has been working through that, and then towards the end of chapter 10, he talks about this just shall live by faith. And he begins to outline all these amazing stories that you've read when you were little children about these men of faith and women of faith. And he talks about their journeys, and what you gotta love about the scripture is that they were real people. The more and more as we study Moses on Wednesday nights, we find out that he did not have everything figured out. He was just like you, and he was just like me. He misunderstood God. He didn't feel adequate. His life was short in so many ways. He was a sinner. And yet God used him in a mighty way to free his people and to take them to a point, but not fully cross that thing. And he understood that the promise lied ahead, and he went through all these sufferings. And so you see these examples of chapter 11, and then Pastor Rick showed how Steve and Selena are modern day examples of what God's allowing them to go through. Is that discipline? We're going to see in the next few verses. Is discipline only because you are bad? Or is discipline a part of what God allows us to go through in our training because what he wants us to become? You know, many times, and as you think about discipline, we always get the mindset, it's because bad Travis, you need this or whatever. That is a part of discipline. But is it possible, which I believe, discipline is also painful and suffering, but it also fits the part of God's plan. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 1, very familiar text. I have to tell you that I'm breaking my religiosity this morning. Throughout my life, I have only owned New King James Bibles. I've had a Thompson Chain, I've had a MacArthur Study Bible, and the more and more as I meet with people, and the more and more because I am a simple guy. And I'm very simple-minded. And I like things that are easy, practical to understand. I keep hearing people read, and I've read it before, is the New Living Translation. And there's many things that I like about it because it's simple and it reaches everyday folks like me. And so I am breaking my religiosity here this morning, so there's hope for you. And I am going to be using the New Living Translation. And I even asked the guys if they could do that for me. And so I apologize, and I know in the past I've always said people are NIV positive, giving a hard time, but they're all translations, folks. Don't anyone ever tell you, they're simply translations. You can only go so far, as we're finding in Genesis. They're just simply translations. Just like the word love can mean so many different things, but the way it was written in the Greek and the Hebrew is very distinct what it meant. And so they're simply translations, so don't get hung up on that. If you're like me, you want to be simply understand that we're going to use this version because I like the word discipline rather than chastise. I don't like saying the word chastise. Nobody uses that anymore. But discipline, we all grasp it right away. So chapter 12, verse 1 says this, and it's up there for you. Therefore, connecting us back to what? These amazing testimonies that people have walked the life of Christ, we can relate to. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. Pretty easy to understand to me, so I like it, right? Therefore, there are examples not only living today, but people that have lived in the Old Testament that have walked through this journey, what we call, of life. And the more and more I walk with the Lord, the more and more I get emails and things that you see, things in ministries and things going on, you say, Lord, why are you using our human, fleshly people? And you could do such a much better job using some other way to reach the lost. But he chooses to use our sinful, weak flesh to be a blessing to others. I can't explain it to you, but I know it's true. We are surrounded by those that have walked the journey. It's about the journey. If you're here this morning and you are a follower of Jesus Christ, he has began and led you on this journey to one day be like him in eternity, right? Covered by his blood. And we begin this process of sanctification, being set apart, which we see here in verse 1, stripping away things that are non-essential, things that are consuming us, things that naturally we are selfish. That's why we do selfies, because we like to see ourselves. We like mirrors, girls and guys. we like to see ourselves. And when you put a picture, we always look for Travis. We want to know what I look like that day. How fat does my face look? We need to strip off every weight in the sin that, what does it say? Easily ensnares it. It's not like, oh wow, something that never pops up. We know, you know, I know what trips me up. And the sin that easily ensnares. I would go as far to say that for men, it's really at the top category is sexual sin and temptation. For men. Women, it's a little different. But there are easily snares and things that trip us that we know and we can identify. The question is, how do we address those issues? And for each one of us, it may be different here this morning. And if you're here and say, I've got things figured out pretty good, Trav, oh, let me pray for you even more. Because watch out, 1 Corinthians 10:13, the things that you think you got solved, watch out, because that's what you're going to be nailed at. Because we get comfortable. We think we've got it solved or whatever. Let's learn from those in these previous scriptures that have not even tasted the promised land. And yet they chose to go through these hardships. They were sinful men because look what it says. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, verse 2, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. I love that. The champion who initiates and perfects our faith. A few weeks ago when I shared, he who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it, right? The same mindset here. If he is the creator, which I believe, and he's created you in his image, in each one of us, he knows the number of hairs on our head, then he does have a perfect plan for your life. But his plan may not look exactly the way you think it should look. But he knows what's best, even in the midst where there's times where I doubt and say, Lord, why would you allow this to happen? He continues to be God. He continues to be the designer and the architect, right? That's an amazing thing to really think about and to chew on. It's powerful. There are choices that we can make. You know that? As we're running this race, runners, and Dave Resk is a healthy guy that likes to run, and we'd meet on Saturday mornings at the old building, and he'd come in all sweaty and smelly on a Saturday morning. I'm like, dude, it's Saturday morning. Here, you want a donut? No, I don't want a donut. What's he doing? He just came from running a track however long. Right? Not me. I woke up a little before, washed the sleep out of my eyes, spent a little time with the Lord, and came and showed up with you guys. But this guy had spent time training, keeping his body in shape. And for those of you that know runners and racers and people that run, you don't just get out there because you're not going to make it 100 yards. I won't get out there. I need a couple years of training to get in shape. Running a race, we have to make wise choices. There may be friends that we need to choose as we're running this race. Friends that are running the race with us. Wouldn't it be wise to pick friends running the race that are on the same page, that are looking to Jesus? Wouldn't that be wise to run alongside them rather than someone that's maybe not, their priority is not Jesus and his glorification, but themselves or the world? It may take some changing in our lives, choosing who we run with. There may be certain activities that we need to drop and set to the side because they're not helping me in this race that I'm running. Certain activities, certain people. Who are we surrounded by? This cloud of witnesses. Now, the Bible does not say that they're looking down at us and watching us because there's joy in heaven, and to watch my life, it would be a bummer for them. And for these people of the old to watch your life, it would be sad and it would be a bummer. Trust me. Because I don't want them watching my life 24/7. I look really good here on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights. Maybe I don't. But the rest of my life, you need to talk to the lady in the back. My wife. And she would say the same thing. Those that are closest to us, they know us the best. They're our best critics. They're our closest accountability partners to help us run this race. And so we may need to drop certain activities as we're running this race. And there may be secret weights that's holding us back. There may be addictions that are holding us back. Strip it all away. Set it aside. Fine, make choices. This goes for me too. Everything that I'm sharing you this morning, I wish I could share to you a couple days ago about a guy that I respect, and to hear him teach on these verses and to listen, it just convicted my heart at the right time. And it was interesting because those verses was actually the day he was doing communion. I couldn't believe it. And so the Lord really rocked my world. And there are times where God needs to do that in your life, in my life. There are times that there's no such thing as coincidences, that God clearly lays out what's going on in your life, and you need to be spoken to because you're wrestling with things. There are weights and sins that are snaring you and slowing you down, and they need to be dealt with. And so these verses are a teaching, a devotion to me, but I pray that you'd be blessed. On the heels of simply last week not knowing what to share and saying, I want to build upon the discipline of God because it's always been interesting to me in how God deals with me and how I deal with my son and your children. So let me read through this verse 2. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of what? The joy awaiting him. He endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. That is the ultimate example. Jesus, the perfecter, the author, he can relate to you. He's had people betray him. He's never given to sin like we have, as you can read for it, But he can relate in so many ways. He was tempted, but he overcome. We have hope in Christ, and there is triumph in sins. It's not this bummer thing that we go through and there's no hope. Or in fact, on Thursday mornings when we get together and fresh start and share things and struggles or whatever, it's a real opportunity to be real and genuine amongst one another because it doesn't happen very much. But that's what we need as we want to grow, because if we don't, we keep everything a secret and it's hidden, and all of a sudden it explodes and it's revealed and it's shameful. Instead of knowing our problems, dealing with it, working together as a family and dealing with issues is so much better. And we can attest to that as a church, and it's been neat to see what God does. Because of the joy awaiting, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. He looked ahead. He endured all the shame, the punishment, the suffering, the discipline. Jesus was faithful. He went through these sufferings because he was obedient to the Father. Now, if he is our example, why do we think that in our journey in this life that we would not go through difficult things? Some of it we deserve, right? Hey, you're going to commit this sin, here are the consequences. But some of it, physical ailments or whatever, we don't necessarily deserve it, but God allows it, and it's a part of this journey because now he's allowing this to happen and to bring himself in a beautiful, clear way to those in your family and other members in your life so that they can say, how, and even Steve, when I talk on the phone, I love to say, dude, how can you go through this situation with your daughter and your wife and not want to be like, Job never fell for it either, but to say, Lord, I'm so angry at you, which I'm sure he's had that conversation, but to say, God, you're not good, I guarantee he's never said that. That's an incredible walk of faith. That's some of us are going through in this room. I don't know all your personal testimonies or things that are going on in your lives, but I'm sure you can relate to that. And I'm sure there's times where you say, wow, couldn't this happen to someone else? Why couldn't that happen to Travis? Why does our family have to go to... And it's hard for us as leaders and myself to come along and have the right words. There's times I don't have the right words. All I can say, I can pray for you. I'm not going to try to figure out what you've gone through because I have not experienced it. But that's okay. People just want somebody around that they can be a sounding board. We need sounding boards. People that we can trust, bounce things off of. People that hopefully are running the race, folks. Find people that are running the race, that are like-minded when you get the chance to share. Those that really are genuinely concerned and love for you. Now we're going to get into the crux of it, which the question that I threw out to you was this: is discipline only for bad behavior? You guys have, for those of you baseball fans, you guys have heard of Fred Lynn. I didn't get to see him play much because I was younger, but I remember as a kid, and I never did call my dad up, but I remember as a kid, somehow my dad in San Diego area knew his father. I don't know if it was through his dad or whatever. But I remember as a kid when I, of course, wanted to do the American dream and be the baseball player and all these things that everyone, I was at the soccer fields all day yesterday with my kids. Now, I'm not expecting them to go pro, but it's fun and it's good for them. It's a good thing for them to be a part of. But I remember as a kid, Fred Lynn would tell my dad, because he raised Fred Lynn, that when he grew up, it was not an amazing childhood. I mean, it was good in the sense if you're disciplined and you're willing to sacrifice. But his dad did not allow him to get a job. He did not allow him to get a car. He could not have a girlfriend. If he was serious, which Fred Lynn was, because it was an amazing thing, I think in '83 in the All-Star game, he had a grand slam and 10 RBIs in one game. He had an incredible career with 283 batting average, over 300 home runs, 17 years. But what was it from? What got him to that point? Was his dad saying, son, you want to be serious? This is the road you're going to have to walk. You won't have a job. You won't have this. You won't have these things. You're going to eat, breathe, and sleep baseball. And as far as I know, he wasn't a believer. This is just a worldly mindset. And then for those of you that know the history books, he was an incredible player on the Red Sox, Angels. He even finished with the Padres for one season. But it was incredible. But what did it take? Was he a bad kid? Is that out of discipline? No, it was discipline / training to get him to the point where he'd be one of the top baseball players and have an amazing career. And that's why many kids in America, including myself, including my cousin, that had a better chance than I did in college, there's going to be sacrifices. And if you're not willing to do the sacrifice, to do that kind of training, it's going to be very difficult. And you have a natural talent like a Bo Jackson to just get out there and play. You don't need practice. Very few. You see, discipline is a part of our lives. As believers in Christ, they were called the 12 disciples. Discipline, there's a mindset here. When you hear the word disciple or discipline, begin to think that you're in a training, that God is working on you. Yes, some of it because of your craziness and the foolish things that you dabble in the sin. But the reality is too, there are times where He disciplines you, molds you into His image, and allows you to go through things because it's a part of His plan. Just like Jesus Christ done nothing wrong, but a part of His plan was Him being suffering and being obedient to the Father. Verse 3. I kind of went ahead of myself. Think of all the hostility He endured from sinful people, then you won't become weary and give up. So Jesus has their example. The idea is here, these people that are written to, we don't know what town they're in, it doesn't matter, but there were people that were starting to feel some persecution. They were starting to feel some heat. It has not, at this point, cost them their life. Otherwise, He wouldn't write this way. But the heat is being applied. Sound familiar? In our country, the heat is being applied. There are times now that you don't want to maybe pray in a restaurant because it's not the cool thing to do. There are times when you go to school funk, you want to talk about Jesus because you're afraid. Right? The heat's being applied. No longer it's getting to the point where there's no cost to being a Christian. They're slowly creeping a little bit. It's not anywhere close to the rest of the world. But there's a little more heat being applied to the Christian community. Those that want to be followers of Christ, or there are those that want to cave into the world and adapt some of their worldly things. You got to make a choice. Stand on God's word or be lukewarm. And so these people had not gotten to that point where their life was taken yet, but it's the heat's being applied. Think of all the hostility He endured, talking about Jesus, then you won't become weary and give up. After all, you have not yet been given your life in the struggle against, notice it says, sin and things that are impounding you. Sin can be all kinds of different things. The sin of the world that's attacking, could be your own personal sin. And here's the thing in verse 5. They should have known this. If you're here this morning, you should know this. Verse 5, and have you, what does it say? Forgotten. When did they get to the point? You may be here this morning and get to the point that you've forgotten, what does it say? The encouraging words God spoke to you as His children. He said, these are powerful verses, folks. Verse 5, my child, don't make light of the Lord's discipline. And don't give up when He does what? Corrects you. For the Lord disciplines those He loves, and He punishes each one He accepts as His child. They had forgotten that. Raising children, which I've been doing for the last almost 10 years in March, has been a whole new ballgame. You see, I received discipline from my father for 18 years roughly, and it was not pleasant. I used to get the belt for discipline, for whatever, getting in so much trouble, whatever it is, until around the age of 9 or 10. And then after that, my dad sat down with me and says, son, I think you're too old for the belt now, which, yes, I am, I agree. He began to say, now I'm going to be grounding you. And now you'll be off for, you won't, all the fun things for a week. And then he added to it, which I despise, and maybe that's why I'm not the best reader. He says, I'm going to have you read a book that I pick out and to do a report on it. Oh! So, of course, they'd be biblical books or about people's lives, and I'd have to read it and do a report on it. Oh, give me the belt. Belt's so much better. Lasts a few minutes, I cry, maybe I have a few little red marks, but the reality is it doesn't last a week, and I don't have to read something that I think is boring. And that's how I was disciplined in the home with my mom and dad. And now I look back and I say, thank the Lord. But now it's my turn. Okay, now it's your turn to discipline Isabel and JT. What did you think worked as a father? What ways are you not? You're dropping the ball in. And that's been a wrestling match that I've shared with many of you in the balance between a husband and wife, in the correct way to discipline our church. I'm sure everyone here has gone through it. A lot of times at church we ask, how you doing this morning? Right? Oh, good, everything. The question we need to start asking, which I encourage you to start asking, how was your trip to the church this morning? How was your trip to church an hour ago when you were getting the kids ready and you were bickering about whatever? That's the question we need to be asking. Because at church, oh, everything's going great or whatever. No, how was the trip to the church? How was it yesterday? Everyone can relate. Sunday mornings is the most difficult thing, especially raising kids, getting to church, getting out of bed. Every other week can be easy. Well, work kind of stinks. But for the reality is, when we get up Sunday mornings, that's the question we need to be asking. And so he says, you've forgotten. These encouragement to you as his children. Notice, apparently, these who he's writing to are believers. There are difficult verses in chapter 6 that, questioning salvation and so forth, and you can work through them. We did it on Thursday night, and there's all kinds of disagreements or whatever. But as he's writing here, as he's encouraging them, they're saying, brothers and sisters, if you are a child of God, he will discipline you. It's a given. It's not like if, he will. And discipline, is it only for bad behavior, or can it be applied for training, to making you more in his image and allowing you to go in through this journey in different things, the hardships and how you respond? The hardships is not the thing that we focus on. God's focusing on how you respond. Right? How are we responding when these heavy things happen in our lives? Does it lead us to the Lord even more, or does it lead us to our vices? Does it lead us to opinions from other people that aren't running the race? I don't know. That's your question you can wrestle with. When the heat is applied, whether it's something you deserve or not, that God's just simply allowing, where do you run? Where do you seek out counsel? Don't come to me. Don't go to Pastor Rick. Go to the Lord and spend time. but you want to go before the Lord and you want someone to share it with or help you along the journey, then come and we can say, hey, let's do it together. Because there's nothing I can say that's any better than what God's Word says. Just like I'm here this morning. I don't need to add to this. This writer was doing the same thing that I'm trying to do here this morning. But we need it. Because as humans, we constantly forget. And so we need to be reminded. And so all throughout Scripture, especially in the new epistles, all he's doing is reminding the same principles. Everything can come down to love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. Really, think about it. Everything comes down to that. Whatever sin you're dealing with, it's because you're self-consumed. God says, no, I want you to be Christ-consumed. Oh, that's easy to say in the morning, and I agree. I don't have it figured out. But God will put that desire in your heart. He will be the one through His Holy Spirit to reveal these things. He's the one that will discipline you if you don't want to adhere to His encouragement or you want to disregard it. If you are a child of God, He's going to get your attention. He's going to get your attention if you genuinely have this relationship with Him. And so it says, for the Lord disciplines those He loves, and He punishes each one as He accepts His child. Verse 7, as you, look what it says, endure this divine discipline, remember that God is treating you as His own children. I discipline JT and Isabel because I love them. It would be unloving for me as a father to let them play in the street without telling them to watch for cars. It would be unloving for as a parent to say, you need to read 20 minutes a day like your teacher says. It's a nightmare trying to get them to do that. But because I love them and one day they're going to have to read God's Word and read whatever, they need to learn to read. It would be unloving for me as a parent that if they're fighting and they've done something really extreme and I've warned them to not get out the belt or use a rod and give them a little reminder, which scourging is actually whipped, to say, get in line where you should be. That's done because I love them. And I try to do my best to explain to JT and Isabel. And so do you. I'm not doing anything new. We tell our children, because I love you, because God loves me, He has to correct, discipline, and train us in His way. And yet sometimes it is painful, just like the cross was painful, but the end goal was beautiful. And so my son or my daughter, as hard as this is, and I don't want to spank you, I'm looking to the end result. The Lord looks at your life this morning and He sees you at the finish line. And He wants to work on you along the way. The question is, how easy are you to be workable and moldable? If you're like me, you're stubborn. It's hard for you, especially as men, to say, I'm sorry, as we learn in love and respect. Much easier for women. And to ask for forgiveness. But to become more like in His image, those are the hard things that we need to do. And to be transparent, which that is even more difficult as a man of wanting respect and honor. Verse 8, if God doesn't discipline you, as He does all His children, hello, if you're not getting disciplined this morning and you don't see discipline coming from the Lord, then you're probably not one of His children. Now that doesn't mean that you're here this morning, you're not a believer, you've never become born again and received God's Spirit and now it indwells you, that you're going through tough times. That doesn't mean you're His child. That's simply the consequences of your sin. There is a difference between being here this morning as a child of God and a child of God's wrath. It's very clear throughout Scriptures. And if you are here this morning and you are a child of God and nothing can pluck you from His hand, then He is going to do things to discipline you, to mold you, to make you in His image. If you could disregard, you're not interested in the love of God and what He's done for you on the cross, then you are separated from His love. But that doesn't mean that there's still not going to be consequences to your sin. The ultimate consequence is separation from the Lord. And one of the unforgivable sins in the Scripture, the one is blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. As you hear God moving in your heart, working in your life, and just tugging at your heart, you simply disregard it and you're not interested. The Holy Spirit is drawing you. God is drawing you, and you simply have to receive it and allow Him to pour forth in your life and move. But He gives you a choice to say, I'm not interested, or God, fill me with your Spirit. If God doesn't discipline you as He does all His children, it means that you're illegitimate. The actual word there, is there any kids here, is the B word. B-A-S-T-A-R-D. I'd rather not say it from the pulpit. That's the actual word. Nobody likes to hear that? Quick story. I got time. 2nd grade. I'm not blaming my grandpa that you guys was here last week, but he would use that word constantly. Oh, the bastard. He'd use the B-A-S-T-A-R-D word. Well, not knowing really what it meant, I thought it was a cool word to use at school. And so I'd be out on the baseball field, and I still remember the kid, his name is Noe. Back in 2nd grade at Central School in Escondido, California, I'm throwing that word everywhere. Yeah, and I thought, hey, this is pretty cool. I like that word. Everyone thinks, wow, where'd you hear this word? Well, I don't know. I went back to class, and not too much longer, I got the little finger thing in the classroom. And so, of course, I panicked, and I was crying, and went to the principal's office, and that Noe had ratted on me for using the word. It was a 6-letter word. Right? And I go into the office, I'm crying, I'm sorry. No, there wasn't any consequences other than don't let it happen again. So thank the Lord for that kind of treatment with me. And I thought, whew, I'm scot-free. Well, every Friday at the end of the week, my sister Jody and I, my mom, if we had a good week or whatever, she'd take us to the yogurt place on Grand Avenue. And there would be, you get the toppings. It wasn't like yogurt that you get in your refrigerator, the boring stuff. It's the frozen yogurt, which we like as kids. And so you get the toppings, the chocolate chips and so forth. And we're eating it, having a good time, of course. I didn't tell Mom about this. And I just couldn't believe it. Well, I can believe it because the Lord always catches me in my sin. There was probably a 6th grader. Why would he come to the table with my mom and sister and say, hey, what happened to you in the principal's office today? And I can't remember. Nice to see you too. And I didn't even know the kid. For those of you that know me and my wife, I'm not a good liar. My sister is much better, even as a kid. So, of course, my mom, what's he talking about? And so I couldn't lie, so I told her. And Mom and Dad took care of me. I didn't use that word for the rest of my life, and I still have a hard time saying it. I'd rather spell it. That word is not a pleasant word now that I get older. And you meet people in your life that maybe they would consider themselves that because they're honestly would consider them illegitimate children or whatever, and your heart breaks for these people that you meet in your life. And all you want to do is pour out your love upon them. You feel for them because, as for me, I can't relate to it because, as Rick can share, myself, we've had parents that have married 38 years that have poured nothing but love. We've never gone through a divorce or separation, anything like that. I am totally blessed because this day and age there are very few now that can say what I can say after 38 years. My parents love each other, example. Same thing with Liz. I don't know, but we were just blessed that God has allowed us to be these amazing parents and homes. But there are those that haven't. That's the word he uses here. Illegitimate children if you're not disciplined. So you want to be disciplined. You want godly discipline in your life. Not just for this goofy things that you know you deserve discipline, but even as he's molding you and training you in his image. So if God doesn't discipline you as he does all his children, it means that you're illegitimate and not really his children at all. Verse 9, since we respected our earthly fathers, just like I did, who disciplined us, shouldn't we submit even more to the discipline of the Father of our spirits? So we have the fathers of our flesh, right? My dad. He did what he thought was best for me. Praise the Lord that he had a biblical foundation, that he knew the limit to beat me was not to child abuse, that it was out of love, and he would explain to me because he loved me. He said there's a big difference in discipline. And there are some that can take it too far. And it's out of anger. It's not out of love. It is out of anger. And some of them do end up in jail where, they belong because they've gone too far. But finding that balance happens only because of a biblical foundation. We've lost that in our society. It's not a popular thing to do. But look at our society. Look at our children today. Look at my kids that I'm wrestling with constantly and training them to be respectful, not only to me, but their teachers at school, their umpires, the referees yesterday. I tell my son, they are God, son. There's no point in arguing and getting upset. When you're on this field or whatever, they are like God, and what they say goes, whether you like it or not. You have to deal with it. If that could stick with him, I'd be so happy as a parent. And as me an example, how am I leading? Am I going to continue to argue with authority? Finding the balance, being led by the Spirit in practical ways like that is the key. It doesn't happen, though, if we're not spending time with the Lord and allowing His Spirit to move in our hearts. If we're not allowing the discipline of the Lord to see it coming to place in my life, just like it happened in second grade. God wants to get our attention, and He wants us on a certain path. And whenever we veer or get off the path, He's going to find people, situations, circumstances to get our attention as we're moving along. Some of it is because of our own doing, where we deserve, whether it's sexual temptation, whether it's some kind of device, addiction, or whatever it is. But there's times when we're walking the journey and still He wants to make us more, and He allows things to happen. And He wants to see how you're going to respond, just like the story of Job. Have you considered my servant Job? Every one of us this morning, think about, have you considered my servant Travis? Would you want that placed on you? I don't really want that. Because all of a sudden, you can do everything but touch his life. And you read the whole journey of Job, but it was a beautiful story of a man that walked just like you and me. And we can learn so much, just like we're learning about Moses and his failures, inadequacies, and yet God continued to use him. So we're almost done here, and then we'll move into communion. Since we respected our earthly fathers who disciplined us, shouldn't we submit even more to the discipline of the Father of our spirits and live forever? Even more. This is the Father of our spirits. This is an eternal Father. Doesn't He know what's best for us? And He's so much more in tune than our earthly fathers. I respect my father, but he didn't have the whole mindset that God has for my life. Verse 10, for our earthly fathers disciplined us for how long? A few years, until roughly in our country is 18, which is a sad thing. I will tell you, the more and more that I have been telling my son, and I'm veering away, that at 18, son, you're out of the house. Which is what? An American mindset, isn't it? You're an adult, you need to move out and be on your own. The Scripture teaches the complete opposite. The Belizean culture, the Philippine culture, any countries around the world is complete opposite. You want your family to be a part. You want them living, and you work together as a community, and it's family oriented, so when you get old, they can take care of you. There's no Highland Manor in Belize. No Highland Manor as far as I know in the Philippines or Mexico. You do that as a family. You take care of them till they're on their dying bed, just like Jacob was, we read in Genesis, and he can't even see. You do that because it's part of God's plan. But in our country, it's totally different. Now, there are benefits and there's things sometimes that some kids take advantage of in these countries that is not a good thing. But there is a balance. And there's a lot of cool things that these family learns from one another. Just like the biblical times. How many guys were related in the 12 disciples? Family. That's okay. For our earthly fathers disciplined us for a few years. 18 years roughly in our country. But you know what happens in a lot of times in those other countries? Those children are so much more respectful. And even at 25 or 26, I'd talk to them like Eduardo, hey, you think this Saturday? Well, let me check with my mom and dad and see if I can come help you. There's still that love and honor for their parents. He wasn't married at the time, now he is, but there's a departing when you get married. But the idea is there. Family. Your family. If you're here this morning, you've asked Jesus as your Lord and Savior. It doesn't seem like He's moving your life because, man, the past week has been a nightmare. In fact, you think this building is going to collapse because you're sitting here. My cousin used to always say that when he came here to our church. Some of us feel that way, but that's not the God that we serve. He's a God that He loves us so much that He will discipline us. You better be the parent here this morning, because you love your children, that you will discipline. And it doesn't have to be spanking. There are practical ways to confront issues in your children's life, no matter what age they are, motivated by love, because they need that the way you need it from a loving Father. The last verse. But God's discipline is always good for us, so that, what does it say? Might share in His holiness. You're going to share in His holiness? Absolutely. These rundown bodies that roughly maybe 70, 80 years on the earth are going to be so much better. I can't remember the book a few weeks ago, but in my mindset, you'd think I know so much more and have everything figured out, but the more and more I just think that we have this idea that everything's spirit in heaven or whatever, but we have responsibilities and duties in the millennial kingdom. There are things that God's assigned us to, but everything's going to be in the way that He designed it back in Genesis. And we're in this section of time where it's not the way, and it's going to go back, and it's going to be a glorious thing when God is going to get it back to the way He intended. Because I can tell you, watch the news, this is not what God intended, but yet it's fulfilling His plans and purposes no matter who gets elected. And you can read all the way in the Old Testament, read Daniel, and how everything lines up. And here we are excited to be a part of it, but don't lose hope. Don't get caught up on all that. Get caught up in engaging yourself in people's lives and teaching them about the love of Christ. Not the day or year ahead where it's going to happen. You can look and say it's being fulfilled, but always take them to the cross, no matter way, in a practical, loving way that will reach them to their core and being in the way that He reached you in your testimony. Holiness. And then finally, verse 11. No discipline is enjoyable while it's happening. Isn't that the truth? Oh man, when you're running and you're trying to get in shape and you got to go exercise every day, it's horrible. But how many can relate? After you do it, you feel accomplished. Hey honey, I walked down at the park 3 laps. I've done it, trust me. Stupid thing to do. Dumb thing to do. Keep it between you and the Lord, you know, when you exercise. But then we become prideful sometimes, don't we? And even in our exercise, yeah, it's painful, but everyone's got to know what I work, what I eat, or whatever. Get away from that. Whatever you do, do it unto the Lord. Does that include exercise and getting in shape or whatever? Absolutely. But for some reason in our human natures, because we're outward appearances, we got to show that side of it. No, worry about your heart. How is your spiritual workouts? Oh, well, that's what you need to be consumed with. There's nothing wrong with getting healthy and being disciplined to look good on the outside. But don't miss the real part is the spiritual. The Lord, the physical is below the spiritual. He's concerned about the heart condition. He will take care of physical needs, but the reality is in a sinful world, that's not going to be completely resolved until we have these glorified, amazing bodies that He has intended. And we can't even fathom. I spend too much time trying to think with it. Stop, Travis. You're just going to get depressed and frustrated. Focus on what I've given you today and the task at hand. No discipline is enjoyable while it's happening. It's painful. That's why I love this verse. It's painful. You want to get to the point as Fred Lynn, or you want to get to a point where you're a great golfer, it's painful, it's sacrifice, and it takes a lot of time, especially for golf. Baseball, running, it's painful, but you're always looking towards the end result. But afterward, there will be a peaceful harvest of right living for those who are trained. There's that word trained, discipline. Those that are trained in this way. I don't know where you're at here this morning. I go ahead, if the ushers want to start handing out the emblems for communion. I don't know where you're at this morning, you know. What discipline is looking in your life from the Lord? There may be things going on in your life that you simply don't understand, or there may be things going on in your life as a result of your sin. In either case, if we recognize that the Lord is doing the work, it'll be so much better if we understand it from that perspective.